We predicted this. Remember when we predicted that there's somebody would be the enterprise or the secure vibe coding
Yes.
option?
Yep, there you go. It's Front End Fire, and I'm your host, Jack Harrington, and with me this week are my esteemed colleagues, TJ Van Tol.
Hey, everybody.
And Paige Niederinghouse.
Hello, everybody.
You get so much Front End Fire. We get the Microsoft thing, and now you get a whole episode with just us.
And we have a lot of news, too.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh. We have so much breaking news. So let's just go for it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right, Paige, what you got?
All right, this week I have news that is not AI related.
What? There is news that's not AI related? Whoa.
Apparently, there is still a little bit. So, this is all about tRPC. It has officially hit version 11. It's been in Next for a long time, but they have officially released v11.
And when we say next, it means like next branch, not Next.js.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to be clear.
Next is in the beta version.
Right. Got it. Okay, cool.
So for tRPC, for anybody who hasn't used it too much, it lets you build and consume type-safe APIs without schemas or code generation. So it's an easier way to do type-safe API endpoints and then have those types be shared on the client and the server with less boilerplate, redundant code. So that's what it is. So v11 has TAN-stack query v5 support. Yes, that's a big one. Everybody's excited about that. You can now send and receive non-JSON data types, which people wanted. They wanted to be able to send form data. They wanted to be able to send binary types like blobs and files. So now that is finally possible as well. There is some improved support for RSCs and for the Next.js app router, which apparently was a sticking point for tRPC in the past.
Okay.
And they are allowing you to stream responses from queries and mutations and even do server-side event handling. So, yeah, some nice improvements. No WebSockets needed for the SSE stuff. So they've definitely been working on making some of the friction on the back end less friction.
Less friction. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I have a little related news. Create TS Router app, what I work on, actually has a tRPC support built in now. You can just click on the tRPC add-on and get that v11 tRPC set up. So really easy if you just want to get started with it. And yeah, that's pretty much in celebration of that TAN-stack query integration, which is really good, actually. Honestly, it's a nice API surface.
Oh, for sure.
This one's on my list to try out. I've still not broken into this project at all, but it keeps coming up over and over again. Surveys here. It's one of the hot new things. So I feel like I need to try it out.
It's not new. It's version 11. So it's
been
around for a little while. But
it's I guess just to say it's hot. It's gotten more popular.
I mean, you think about it. It's like, there's GraphQL, and that's kind of, heavyweight, right? And tRPC, when people are into the RPC mechanisms now, that's the new hotness. You just want to be able to call a function, get you back some data or a stream or a server-side event stream, whatever. It's just a little more convenient, and to have it all really just be type safe and very easy to manage is great.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. TJ, what you got?
I've got some kind of drama between Netlify and Vercel.
Okay, here we go.
So this comes off the back of last week we talked about a security vulnerability in Next.js. So if you want the background of that, you can listen to last week's episode. The short version, the TLDR of it, is that there was a vulnerability in the middleware of Next.js. And that does affect hosting providers actually quite directly. And one of the engineers at Netlify wrote up this blog post titled "You Should Know This Before Choosing Next.js," where basically wrote up some struggles that Netlify has hosting Vercel applications, and also posted a timeline of how Netlify didn't really get notified of that security vulnerability as they kind of would have liked to have, which they consider a kind of an important thing. So wrote up about the timeline of that and also some of the issues they had. And then a few days later, Netlify posted a post on their official blog titled How We Run Next.js Today and What Should Change. And basically, it's a cleaned up version of what that individual developer wrote. And it's a little more political, right? Like it's
sure.
It's very cordial and whatnot. But they did spell out 6 challenges in this article. So I thought I'd just briefly run through them because
that's great. Yeah.
It is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So the first challenge they highlight, so just to set the context, this is from the Netlify perspective. They host Next.js apps. Next.js is an open source framework. You can host your apps on Vercel. That's kind of the happy path, and that's how Vercel makes their money for the most part. But they do position themselves as open, as you can host your own site. You can run them anywhere. Netlify is one of the providers that does it. So, okay, that context out of the way. Their first challenge is that they say there's no real adapter support for Next.js. So a lot of frameworks come with adapters sort of pre-built into their framework.
Yep.
Remix, Astros, FeltKit, Gatsby,
Kansec
Start. All have some concept of adapters, which essentially help you take your build output and take it to a hosting provider. Just makes the process a little bit easier to get it up and running.
Yeah.
And Next.js doesn't really have a concept of this. And to quote from this article, it says just Next.js builds use a private, largely undocumented format that's subject to change. Providers have to take this build output from disk, translate it to their own format, and write it back to disk. So just a manual, not especially fun process. So that's the first challenge they cite. The second is that there's not a lot of documentation for serverless deployments. Basically, the complaint here is that Next is getting really complicated, and there's a lot of new features on the server side. And if you are hosting all of that server-side infrastructure, there's considerations you have to take that are different than what an application developer has to take. So you have to implement some of these things, like how caching is actually going to work. That's actually one specific thing they talk about.
Yeah.
And they say that Vercel's documentation for that sort of thing is lacking. Sometimes they mention it, but they don't go into enough detail for anybody to realistically do it. You have to kind of get in and reverse engineer, really dig in deep to figure this sort of stuff out. Mm-hmm. So Netlify says they're committed to do this, but they have to spend a lot of time and effort on it. And it's kind of acts as a gatekeeping feature to keep new people from getting involved, because it just raises the barrier to actually host these.
Yep.
The last few I'll just go through kind of quickly. We'll link to the full blog post if you want to read through it. But the third is just undocumented behaviors. There's some code paths in Next.js that are basically specific for Vercel, and some providers have reverse engineered these. Some have not. The fourth, they're complaining that Next does not always build on open web standards. Sometimes they use their own proprietary things instead of trying to leverage on features that the web already has. And then the last one's lack of roadmap visibility and lack of release predictability.
Yeah.
Yes.
So complaining that Vercel doesn't do much to publish about here's what's coming in Next.js, big features. And the release predictability is especially, I can see why a Netlify would be concerned about that, because as soon as there's a new feature of Next, if you're a Netlify user, you're going to want to use that new feature like immediately. So if you don't know that's coming, I imagine they are often just scrambling to figure out, crap, what's in this release? Can we support it? When can we offer it to our users? And they're looking for a little bit more transparency around that. So it's a well-written article.
10 out of 10. Perfect. No notes. Really good.
So
yeah.
I think it's a tough issue, because I see Vercel's side of this as well, because they're putting out a framework that's their reason for their business. So obviously they want to give preference to their own hosting ecosystem. That's how they exist. But if they're going to claim to be an open framework, they have to put in the requisite work to basically claim that. And I see this as some reasonable pushback from Netlify to try to get more from them to make it easier for these other providers to get involved with this and hopefully create a better Next ecosystem for everybody.
Yeah.
I think perfectly reasonable. Yeah. So if you've ever seen Lee Robinson's channel, and he's the one of the DevRels over at Vercel, it's a fantastic channel. But I guess he did one video on how to Dockerize Next and deploy that. And it was the most insanely obfuscated thing. It was just, 80 steps. And it was all done in good faith. But at the same time, you kind of look at it and you go, whoa, and it almost is an ad for like, just use Vercel, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I get it, because from Vercel's perspective, it's easy to lose track of that sort of thing, I'm sure, because you just get so used to your own ecosystem, and it can be difficult to prioritize things that you're not making money off of directly. But if being open and growing Next, because growing Next from an open source perspective helps their bottom line too. So hopefully they respond to this. It sounds like there's already some traction on this. The two are talking more to each other, at least on social media and such. So hopefully this does lead to
I
a
certainly
better
hope
place.
that there's some kind of base level of support. I mean, the cutting edge features and all that kind of stuff, like the partial pre-rendering and everything, fine. Okay, yeah. But, you should be able to just kind of like stand up a basic SSR server and with some caching, some basic caching for, RSCs or whatever, and be able to do it and have it be reliable and simple and well documented. Right.
Yeah. They need to be good stewards of, if they're going to be open source software maintainers, they need to be good stewards to the rest of the community, not just their own platform.
But that's definitely something when you think about like the open source projects that you want to adopt and your own stuff, you got to go and like, where's the money, right? Where's the money coming from? What's the financial incentive? And be sure that that aligns with whatever you choose when you choose that kind of thing.
Well, one of the more successful projects I can think of, recent drama aside, is WordPress, which has a similar sort of model because it's a wildly successful open source project, but Automatic has the built-in hosting for it, and that model seems to have worked well for them. Although, like I said, recent drama has come from that, but you can't deny that WordPress hasn't been enormously successul.
Oh yeah, and but also they're a lot simpler to host, as far as I remember. I mean, it's like it's a PHP, it's like not you can go get like a $5 hosting site, and they all got PHP on there.
Yeah.
All right. So my news for this week is about Firefox, your favorite browser, TJ.
Yes.
Apparently they're adding, finally, PWA support to Firefox. But given the article that I read about it, they're not quite super stoked about the level of support. It's pretty minimalistic. Basically just like some additional stuff around the UI. But it still very much looks like a browser, when in reality what you want is an actual like app look and feel, and apparently you're not going to get that with Firefox, which is sort of a womp womp kind of thing. It's like close, but it's not quite there. And it's also like currently on a user adoptable like a backend switch, like we do like one of those about routes, and you get like all the switches. You got to actually manually set it, so it's not exactly user friendly to go and set up one of these things yet until it's actually released.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see what they actually ship for this. When I saw this, I read this as Firefox is having a hard time keeping up, just in terms of this. They see this as what's the lightest weight way that we can say we support PWAs and kind of move on to the other features we're behind with. And I'm going to reserve judgment until we see this. Like you said, it's behind a flag. It's not like a publicly available thing yet. So when it does come out, we'll make sure to try it out and let all of you know when you can try it and how it works, and in a bit more detail than we have right now.
Yeah, I gotta say, we see that all the surveys and the stuff, and they always talk about PWAs in their mix somewhere, but it's never like a big number. Like it's not a thing. Yeah.
People just don't take advantage of them that much, I don't think, as much as we would like to think that they do or they would.
I'm guilty of it too, because even the couple times I've taken the time to install a PWA, which you can now do on Macs and they work pretty well, I still don't think to use them. I still go towards just the native Mac apps, or I just use the thing in my browser. So even me, a giant web advocate, I still don't think in terms of let me look for PWAs and use them, which isn't the greatest sign, unfortunately. And I don't really know why that is. It's like I said, when I've used them, I've had positive experiences, so it's weird.
Yeah. I think it's just more friction that people don't think about, and then just I don't know. I don't think a lot of people still are very aware of them, just period, or that that is a thing that they can do, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll say I pretty much never get prompted. Well, I'm a Firefox user, so of course I'm never going to get prompted to install them. But even in cases where I'm using Chrome for development or whatever, I'm not frequently getting. I don't. In fact, I can't think of I've ever gotten prompted to install one of these.
Yeah, there was a little bit of time there where we were getting those prompts, and then those prompts all seem to migrate to, hey, we've got a native app. Like, click on this, get our native app, and there you go, kind of thing.
Yeah, but the same sort of thing. Like, in theory, you should be able to install web apps natively as well. And on my phone, I don't really get prompted to do that either. So mobile Safari support for it is quite good at this point, but websites just either aren't taking advantage of it, or I really don't know.
Yeah. After having all that drama from, a year back, when every other episode of Front End Fire was Apple news about, PWAs and all the rest of it. We're not getting as much Apple news, Yeah.
No, Apple seems to be kind of keeping their head down, and maybe that's because Intelligent Siri is not out yet.
Right. Yes, they're keeping their head down because they don't have.
Yeah, the cost of an iPhone might be $3,500 the next time if we have to manufacture it in the U.S. I think there's a lot of reasons that big companies are not talking because we don't know what's going to happen economically.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Fair enough. Yeah. So cool. Well, any extra news this week?
We got quite the laundry list of news. I'll go first and then I'll turn it over. So the first is that Style Components has put out a post that they are entering maintenance mode, which I did not see coming, honestly.
Right?
So it's, it's still, I looked it up, that the latest State of CSS survey, it was easily the biggest CSS in JS framework. 59% of people have said they have used Style Components. But they cite in this blog post, there are 3 reasons why they're going into maintenance mode. The first is difficulty of working in RSCs, or really just server rendered stuff in general is a challenge for anything CSS in JS. The second reason is that the ecosystem has moved on to where from CSS and JS to more towards Tailwind, which is kind of taken over, exploded in popularity. And then third, and this is probably the biggest reason, is that the core maintainer no longer has active production employment deployments. I don't know why this is a tongue twister, of styled components. So basically, they're not working on styled component apps anymore. So they have less of a reason to actually maintain the project. But they said that the project isn't going to go away. It's in maintenance mode. They have a small war chest that they're going to put towards ongoing maintenance work and issues that come up. So you don't have to, the project's not being completely abandoned, but it sounds like no new features or anything like that is coming to the project anytime soon.
Yeah. It's a bummer because styled components was for a while, it was the go-to way that everybody wanted to write all of their applications. And then RSCs came along and all of that kind of went sideways really fast. But at the same time, I'm sure there are still a lot of projects that are using it. So, and they're not going to take the time to rewrite all of their CSS in some other style. So it's nice that he's going to maintain it and kind of keep it going. But also, it's kind of sad that that's, fallen out of favor already. And end of an era.
Yeah, there might be some compile time solutions though that are close enough, and I think that's where a lot of the CSS and JS stuff went was the kind of pre-compiled things where you're getting the the CSS at compile time, so you're not getting the FUOC, as you jump to the page and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he talked in the article about not wanting, basically to do that in style components would be a complete rewrite, and to him it's not worth it to fundamentally change it to give people a completely different approach. So kudos to them, though. It's a neat project. I used it on a couple different apps. I still have some little demo apps out there using it. It worked great. I think it has a model that hasn't held up so well in a new server-side rendered world that we live in. It's not as great now, but man, in its heyday, it's just a great little tool that was easy to use.
Yeah.
A little bit unfortunate for micro front ends, though, because of sometimes getting the CSS for the micro front end can be a little bit tricky, but whatever. That's a niche place, and I'm sure that there'll be enough CSS and JS solutions around for a while for that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, what else do we have? So I've got one. I've got the Bear. We got another JS runtime. Can you believe it? Oh my gosh.
I can believe
Another?
it, actually.
This one is called Bear, B-A-R-E, although their logo is a bear as well. Thanks for that, guys, for obscuring that one. But literally, I just found out just minutes before we went on air with this. But and why choose Bear? Apparently, the interop between ESM and CommonJS is so bad that apparently we need a new, runtime to handle that, which is crazy. I mean, I'm not a fan. I've every time I run into those kind of issues, I'm just like, But I don't know if we need a new runtime to handle that.
I mean, I don't like to discredit people that are trying to build something new. It's hard to build something new, a new tool, especially to take on established players. So best of luck to them. But the bar is high to try to compete in this space when there are so many established players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we were talking about this just a little bit before the show. And, you either do a new runtime in JavaScript or you do a new package registry in JavaScript. But, wow, that's a really uphill battle you're about to fight, trying to take market share from the big players who have been the only option for years and decades at this point. But
and looking at the code, it's like you're bringing in a lot of these Bear modules. It's like, I'm gonna bind myself to a Bear specific code.
Well, I'll give them some credit. They at least have very clear on their website, why would you do this? Why now? So they're at least answering those questions. They talk about that they're perfect for any app that requires direct user-to-user connection, file sharing, high volume data applications. So at least they're trying to carve out their niche. Yeah. They're clearly stating what they're up to. So I will grant them that is good. Unlike a lot of these frameworks that go out and don't try to differentiate themselves from what's out there, they're at least clearly stating what they do.
Yeah. And I scrolled down all the way to the bottom, and they were actually on a new social network called Keat.
What is this?
I don't know. It's like a little, I don't know.
Join our Bear room. Download Keat.
In a Keat app.
Oh, no.
Okay.
What is this?
I don't know. Yeah, apparently my wife told me there's a new TikTok competitor now. Who's it? Blue Sky is coming out with their own TikTok competitor.
I mean, that doesn't surprise me.
No, that one
honest.
I get. I mean, and if you can reuse all your Blue Sky stuff, I think that's a win.
All right, here's Keat.
Uh-oh.
The website starts off Keat by Hole Punch. So I guess that's their parent company. So Keat video calls operate over direct connections between you, your friends, or colleagues without using servers that can throttle your performance.
Okay. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I can see then that it's probably relates to this JavaScript thing, like peer-to-peer sort of thing. So.
And now it wants me to download the app to my Mac.
All right. So is there more news?
There is more news. So I've got one last one. Okay. There is a partnership that was announced between Netlify, they're back in the news again.
Oh yeah.
And Windsurf, the VS Code fork editor by Codium. And so just to read, Windsurf and Netlify announced a new technology partnership that brings seamless one-click deployment directly into the developer's IDE. Through this deep integration, developers using Windsurf's AI-powered IDE can now build and deploy with Netlify without ever leaving their editor. So it's an interesting idea.
Yeah, no, it's good. Really a good idea. Yeah.
I ran into this exact scenario. So I created a video on vibe coding this past week because of course. And it was we work in the IoT space and there's a lot of IoT people that aren't web developers and are really overwhelmed by the concept of how do I get my code on into a site behind a URL, right? For us and for probably a lot of people listening to this, that's we've done this a bunch of times. We can throw something up on Netlify or Vercel or AWS or whatever, but this is overwhelming to a lot of people that are just trying out coding for the first time. And so the idea that you could do that entirely from your IDE And probably, presumably, since Windsurf's an AI editor, probably you would just tell your AI to deploy the site.
Looks good to me. And I don't care about those clear security errors. Let's go.
That's fine.
So, Jack, it's funny you mentioned that because the one line I'm going to quote from this blog post. So they say that, quote, enterprise-grade security comes standard, such as secrets scanning to prevent publishing API keys publicly.
Okay. So somebody's clued into what's going on in Twitter space. All right.
We predicted this. Remember when we predicted that there's somebody would be the enterprise or the secure vibe coding option?
Yep. There you go.
They saw this. I think we have some listeners on the Windsurf
Good memory, TJ.
team.
There you go.
Because I don't know. I think this news is cool. There's nothing you can test today. It's not like this is live. I think this is just announcing that something like this is coming. And I think it's really smart from both companies, honestly. And
nothing is live?
No, they're just announcing a partnership. It's a press release, Jack.
I know.
Grumble,
But it makes a lot of sense, though, because Netlify was the one who came out with the new term AX, or agentic experience. So they're now doubling down on that with partnerships with AI companies. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And, also good for them because that is a need in the space. If people are going to vibe code things and they want to actually share them with other folks and not just use them locally, that's not the easiest thing to figure out, even if you have done a little bit of, pseudo coding. That's still complicated.
Oh, yeah. No, seriously.
And Windsurf needs a way to stand out against Cursor and VS Code now, which we just, in our special episode, just covered their agentic stuff.
Mode. Woo.
So,
yeah.
This gives them a unique thing that the others aren't doing today.
Well, it gives them the statement that eventually they'll have a unique thing.
Yes.
I guess we're back into press release space again when it comes to AI.
Yeah.
Great. Love it. Okay.
Hey everybody, TJ from the future here with a quick correction because we were totally wrong about this. The Windsurf and Netlify integration is available. It's in a beta state, but it was included in Windsurf's Wave 6 release that went out this week. So sorry, Windsurf team, we totally got that wrong. I'm going to include a link to the blog post that talks about how it works in the show notes. So if you want to read through that, you can. And we'll probably talk a little bit more about this next week after we've had a chance to try it out as well.
Any more news before we get into what's making us happy?
Okay. For me.
Let's go find out what's making us happy. All right, TJ, what's making you happy this week?
Mario Kart World is making me happy.
It's out?
It is not out. So here's another thing. I guess all I'm going to talk about are things that are press releases today.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
All right. It's coming out in June. But Nintendo put out a bunch of videos, teasers, that sort of thing, trailers. We learned more about the Switch 2, and Mario Kart World will essentially be its headlining launch title. And it looks pretty cool. So you can race with 24 people, which is new to Mario Kart. They've got some open world style thing where you can just kind of drive around. Not totally clear what that's going to be. There's a mode that's like Fortnite where players just keep getting eliminated until one is left, which sounds pretty cool.
That sounds
and
fun.
You can race as a cow, as the cow from Moo Moo Meadows in previous games. That was probably the most exciting part of the whole thing.
I remember that
honestly,
cow. That's a cool cow. Yeah, nice.
It's a very cool cow. So you can race as that as well. And I don't know, it's just exciting. I've played Mario Kart since the original Super Nintendo game back in the day. So anytime there's a new one, especially when the new one looks pretty cool, it's exciting.
Are you going to camp out at the Best Buy overnight to go and get your Switch 2?
No. Well, so there is some drama around pricing because on multiple different levels. So for one, they are planning on charging $80 for this game, which will make it the first sort of console game to be $80. They charged $70 for the previous Zelda game. And they're going $80 for this. It's interesting though because video games for the longest time did not go up in prices related to inflation. So video games were like $60 for almost 20 years.
Yeah, your title was like $60.
And
even that seems high to me, but I guess not.
Well, that's why it pushed games to do all this like DLC type of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
And because the cost of making these games and then the cost that they were selling them at didn't like it kept getting more expensive to make games, but they weren't charging more for them. But I don't know. It's interesting. You can get it. There's a bundle. You can, if you buy a Switch 2 with this game, you can get it quite a bit cheaper. But there's that drama. And then the other bit of drama is Nintendo announced that they're pausing pre-orders because of the tariff drama that's out as well. So you can't pre-order this in the US anymore. At least it's on pause. So multiple levels of drama. But this is the what's making me happy segment. So I'm just going to say that
right?
the game.
Where's the good coming out of this?
The game looks great.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And
man.
I'm usually not a fan. I'm definitely not a fan of the open world thing. But the fact that Nintendo is doing it makes it feel better because I know that they know how to make a playable game.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's just like one part of this.
Yeah.
And there's still the core Mario Kart that we've been playing for 30 years is still there.
Yeah.
Except with 24 people.
With 24 people, yeah.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. Yeah. Yeah. You're on the Rainbow Road with 24 people.
Oh man,
That's gonna be
people
like-
are going off all the time.
Almost like an LA freeway. Okay. Let's Paige, what's making you happy?
The novel Squeeze Me is making me happy, and this is by an author who I've been a fan of. He's been writing books since like the early 80s. His name's Carl Hyacin.
Oh yeah.
He's a really great author. He's based out of Miami, Florida, and he was previously a reporter before he turned to writing novels. So he's got all kinds of crazy just Florida stories, I think, that get woven into his novels, which are all based in South Florida and Miami as well. And Squeeze Me, I think, came out maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and I just it never came across my radar. So I've been reading it now, and it's exactly what I remember when I first stumbled across his novels. It's crazy stuff happening in Florida. There's massive pythons. There's, dumb people trying to do kidnappings and ransoms, and just this zany cast of characters and things that are going on in South Palm Beach or West Palm Beach, wherever this is taking place. And it's just like his previous novels, and it's so entertaining to read. So I would highly encourage that if anybody's looking for something that's kind of fun, entertaining, and also a little bit harebrained at the same time.
Didn't he do that South Florida one that you and I liked, the one by Key West?
Probably.
Yeah, that was a good show too. So
Yeah. I think it was Netflix that adapted one of his books into a series. Now I can't remember which book it was. It might have been Monkey Business, I think.
Yes, that was it.
Yeah, with Vince Vaughn. But that
was
great.
That was pretty good. That was right.
So you should definitely check that out.
These are fiction, but feel like nonfiction, basically.
It feels like he probably got a lot of inspiration from when he was a beat reporter for the Miami Herald. Because there's a lot of very Florida things happening that probably did happen to someone at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All right. So what's making me happy this week is Pickup Music. So this is the site that I'm actually using to learn guitar, and it's very fun. It's a really interesting, fun, interactive site. There's cool videos. There's like a kind of researched and developed learning path and stuff for various levels of skill. So yeah, I figured I'd just throw that in there. That if you're looking for a place to pick up a guitar, pick up music's a pretty good place to learn it.
Yeah. So are you enjoying it so far, Jack? You getting your chords down?
Getting my chord. Yeah. Today's lesson was all about fast switching chords and stuff, and techniques for that, and exercises and stuff, and then. But it's also it's good to know why you're doing these things, and they're very good about that. And also acknowledging when things are going to be difficult. It's this particular transition is really hard, but you're going to have to do it a lot, so you want to practice the heck out of this one. And that gives you a sense of oh, okay, I'm not a moron because I just can't get this down, kind of thing. It is actually difficult, and so it's been really good, and I'm now getting to the point where I feel pretty comfortable just kind of strumming out a little tune, and not getting to the place where I could sing along with it yet, so the campfire thing is not yet happening. But no, it feels good. And it's nice to be able to kind of, well, not that I would do this ever, but be in a boring meeting and just kind of have the guitar below the video line and be like, okay, just kind of strumming along, whatever. As long as I'm on mute, it's all good.
So not singing during, is that just because you need to be more comfortable? You need to be able to be comfortable enough that you're not focusing so much on your hands, that they're freed up so you can think about,
so when you think about okay, now I've got to go from C to E minor or whatever, G to E minor, like you're not even looking at the guitar anymore. Your hands just knows where to go, knows when to go there on the beat. Yeah, and because you got two hands going, you got the strumming hand going, it's doing its own thing. You got fingers, your fretting fingers going and doing another thing. So yeah, I think it's just it's just a matter of just repetition over time.
Memory.
Muscle memory, exactly. And that just takes a while to kind of get ingrained.
Yep.
Yeah. Crazy. All right. Well, this has been a fun episode. Lots of cool news this week. And as always, this podcast is brought to you by the Blue Collar Coder. Go check us out over on our Discord server. You can ask us any questions you want there. Just hang out with us. Talk about what you liked about the episode, what you didn't like about the episode, and all that good stuff. It's really fun to get your feedback on that. And, of course, we got our website as well. It gives you all back access to all of our back catalog of... Are we over 100 now? I think we are.
This is 89.
Oh, we're getting close. We're getting real close. And we're on YouTube, which is great. So if you want to see our smiling faces and the places where we live, jump on YouTube, check us out on the video side. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
All right.
See you then.
Bye.